Okay. So today we will start from joints or articulation. Yesterday we have covered the limbs or bones of upper and lower limbs. So today we will start from joints. A joint or articulation is the place where two or more bones come together. Means this junction of bones, right? That is known as joint. Joints are weakest part of skeleton. Obviously, when separate bones are coming together and they are forming a junction, that will be the weakest part than a proper particular bone. So they give skeleton mobility and hold it together. Yes, because of joints only we can move our body, and they are holding the whole body together. Yes, without joints, how it would be possible? With the help of joints only, whole body is connected. Three types of joints classified by amount of movement they allow. Okay, so three types of joints on the basis of what? Amount of movement. Remember this thing. Three types of joints on the basis of amount of movement. How the amount of movement they allow. According to that, three types of joints. First one is immovable or fibrous joints. Means those joints which does not allow any movement. They are fixed. Next is slightly movable. Means they allow slight movement. They do not allow fully movable or full movement. So those types of joints are cartilageous joints generally. Next is freely movable. Freely movable joints are synovial joints. So on the basis of structure also we can see these three: fibrous joint, cartilageous joint, and synovial joint. Uh, at first, we will go through fibrous joint. Bones are joined by fibrous tissue. No joint cavity is present. So, for example, fibrous joint we can see in skull. Which bone is this and which bone is this? Tell me these two bone names.
First one is cranial, ma'am.
Okay.
And next second one is not
Second one
very
is not
fast.
cranial.
First
Frontal parietal.
frontal is cranial.
Yes, very good. Frontal and parietal. And they all are cranium. Okay. So the joint between these cranium bones, they are example of fibrous joint or immovable joint. And in between them, you can see in this zoom in structure that there is no joint cavity. They are fixed. You can see how they are joined together. They don't carry any joint cavity in between them. They are fixed in their structure. They are like completing one another, right? So this is an example of immovable joint or fibrous joint. The amount of movement allowed depends on the strength of fibers uniting the bones, that is sutures joint. So yes, this joint is known as sutures joint. Means the joints of cranium are known as sutures. Yes. Sorry. Next is
Please repeat it.
yes. Which one?
Means that joints.
What did you? What is the thing
Last
you?
two line. Only
Hmm?
last two line. Only last two line, ma'am. Please repeat it.
The amount of movement allowed depends on the length of fibers uniting the bones. Means the amount of movement they allow. Actually, they are not allowing movement. They are fixed. They do not carry
Ma'am,
any
your
joint
voice is.
cavity in between them. Means you can. My voice is not there.
It was not there. Now it's okay.
Okay. If this happens any more time, please inform me. We will switch to something else. Okay.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. The amount of movement allowed depend on the length of fibers uniting the bones. Actually, they do not allow any movement. They are fixed. But sometimes a very, very little movement can be there because of uh, amount of fibers they are uniting. Means in the joints you can only see fibers, joint fibers. Okay, so that may allow very, very little movement that can't be seen, that is very negligible. And these joints of cranium are known as sutures. Here you can see sutures. Sutures is the joint, means is a name for in skull. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am.
Next is cartilaginous joints. Cartilaginous joints are the articulating bones are united by cartilage. Means anywhere you see cartilage, then that joint is cartilaginous joint. Means in between bone, cartilage is present, and because of that cartilage, the joint is slightly movable. It is not fully movable, it is slightly movable. Okay. They lack a joint cavity. Here also we cannot find any joint cavity. For example, intervertebral joints. Here in this picture you can see two vertebrae are there, and in between two vertebrae, joint capsule, that is intervertebral disc, is made up of cartilage. Okay, intervertebral disc made up of cartilage is present in between vertebrae. So this cartilage is providing slight movement in between them. That is why we can do back bending, we can do forward bending, we can do twisting. Okay. Next is synovial joints. Now, these synovial joints are a bit long. Articulating bones are separated by a fluid containing joint cavity. Now, here you can see synovial fluid, joint cavity, everything. Everything regarding joints you will see here. Synovial fluid is found in joint cavity. All synovial joints are freely movable. Okay. Now see this one. All synovial joints are freely movable. For example, there are 6 types of synovial joints. For example, ball and socket joints and pivot joints. So these are the form of synovial joints, and these are freely movable. And there are six types of synovial joints. What are those? Ball and socket joint, hinge joint, gliding joint or plane joints, then pivot joint, condylar joints, and saddle joint. Okay, these are the six types of synovial joint, and here you can see an example of synovial joint. This is the structure of knee joint. This is femur, and this is tibia, and in between them the synovial fluid is present. You can see here, this is femur, this is a spongy part of femur, this is compact part of femur. Now this is synovial membrane. Yes, you can see here a synovial membrane. See this picture clearly. Can you see this picture very clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here, this is the joint cavity, and this is this pink colored membrane is synovial membrane. So the joint cavity is covered by synovial membrane, and in that joint cavity you can find synovial fluid. Okay, you can find synovial fluid in this joint cavity. Sorry, synovial fluid is outside that cavity. It is a cavity, and here you can see articulating cartilage. Means the this is the spongy part, this is the compact part of femur, and after that compact part in the joint you can see cartilage is also present. But in between these cartilages, means in tibia also you can see the same spongy bone, compact bone, and then cartilage. So in between these two bones, in between the outer part of these two bones, that is cartilage, you can see gap, that is known as synovial gap. So uh, this gap is present in synovial joint only. Otherwise, this gap is present. This gap is never present in that. What was other two? Immovable joint and cartilageous joint. Okay. So we will learn in details all this. Don't worry. Now, at first, ball and socket joint. This is part of synovial joint, right? We have already discussed that there are six parts of or six types of synovial joint, right? Six types of synovial joint. First one is ball and socket joint. So in ball and socket joint, head of one bone is ball sept and articulates with a cup sept socket of another. Means, let me draw. One bone will be of ball sept and another bone will be of socket sept. So drawing is very difficult here. I just wanted to make you understand This type of structure happens in ball and socket joint. One bone a The head of one bone is ball shaped, and the bone which is articulating with another bone is almost socket shape for that ball, or cup shaped. Okay, so this is the structure of ball and socket joint. The joint allows for a wide range of movement, the most freely moving synovial joint. So this type of joint is the most freely moving synovial joint. And where do we find this type of joints? This type of joints can be found in shoulder, means the articulating joint of our uh, humerus, and scapula, and the hip bone and femur. Also, a little bit of ball and socket joint shape is also found in elbow joint. Okay, so this is about ball and socket joint. Remember, this is the most freely moving joint in body. This joint provides the widest range of motion in body. Next is hinge joint. Hinge joint itself explains about it. Means hinge, you have seen that doors of our rooms open in one side only. I think you have observed that in our rooms, in our kitchen, doors open in one side only. Doors do not open in our washroom. Doors do not open in both side, either inside, either outside. Okay, have you observed this?
Yes, ma'am.
So why this is? Because in our doors we have put a hinge. So that hinge allows only one directional movement. That hinge do not allow two directional movement, or movement in any direction. It allows the movement in a particular direction. The same thing in hinge joints. Hinge joint, where the bones can only move along one axis to flex or extend. Okay, means here in hinge joint 2, bones are allowed to movement in one direction only. Like hinge joint is present in our elbow, in our knee, like that only. Our elbow is allowing to our upper arm and lower arm only to flex and extend. Flex and extend. We cannot move our elbow to the backward. Only the forearm can come to the shoulder, means our palm can touch shoulder, and it can extend. It cannot move, or it cannot fold from backward. Right, like that only. Our knees only can be folded in backward. It cannot be folded from forward because patella is present. So this is hinge joint. Next is gliding or plane joint. Articular surfaces are essentially flat or very slightly curved, and they allow only short slipping or gliding movements. Okay, this the line is explaining everything, that This type of joints can be found in carpals. We have already seen where can be found carpals.
Wrist,
Hands,
ma'am.
fingers.
Wrist.
Oh, yes, very good wrist. But who said finger? Finger, always remember finger with phalanges.
Yeah, phalanges. Sorry.
Yes, very good. Um, Carpals can be found in wrist. So this gliding or plane joint is found in between carpals. Why they are flat? Almost they are flat and very slightly curved. So they allow only short slipping or gliding movements over each other. They provide gliding movements or a bit slippery movement over each other. So this is gliding joints or plane joints. Next is pivot joint. Pivot joint is the rounded end of one bone protrudes into a ring composed of bone of another.
Is ma'am
Ma'am, you're
audible?
staying.
Okay, okay.
No, no.
Yeah.
Ma'am is not audible to us.
When ring is protruded on that axis. So these
Ma'am,
joint
ma'am,
with yes,
ma'am, can you
yes.
repeat the pivotal joint because we lost you? You have come back just now.
Okay, sorry. Can you see my slide?
Yeah, now it is visible.
Okay. So pivot joint. So in pivot joint, okay, you please, when this type of problem is happening, message in group so that I can understand at that point only. Okay. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So pivot joint. In pivot joint, one axis you can see here in this picture. Here one axis is present and one ring is covering that axis. One ring is protruded on that axis. Clear? This picture?
Yes, madam.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
If you are not answering, then I thought that I may be not audible to you. Please answer me, okay? So, this there will be a bone like this axis, and there will be a bone in the form of this ring, which is protruding on that axis. So, they are forming a pivot joint. So this type of structure or this type of joint we can see in our first vertebral joint. Okay. So let's go to the vertebra portion. Where do we find? We cannot find the first vertebra. Okay. Okay. From here we can no. Let me go back. Okay. So what happens here? You can see This is the structure of starting of vertebral column. Okay. Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Hmm. So this is the structure of starting of vertebral column. And this is the first vertebra. So what should be the name of this vertebra?
Atlas, ma'am.
Very good.
Cervical.
Yes, you both are right. So how many vertebrae are there in cervical region?
7, ma'am.
7. So every vertebra is divided into as C1 for cervical, T1 for thoracic, means C1, C2, C3, C4, like this. Okay. Thoracic, T1, T2, lumbar, L1, L2, like this. So this is C1, cervical 1. And you can see this do not look like other vertebrae. As like we have seen here, this is these are two vertebrae. So what are their structure? They are having a body, they are having a spinal process, they are having transverse processes. We have seen earlier, right? Here, this is the structure of one vertebra. We have already seen earlier that they are having a body, they are having a spinal process, they are having two transverse process, superior articular facet, and they are having a vertebral foramen. And this foramen, through which this foramen is present because spinal cord is going through this foramen, right? Foramen means, you can understand foramen as a cavity in between bone. So foramen is anatomical language for cavity. So this is the normal structure of a vertebra. But here you can see this first vertebra is a little bit different. And this vertebra is known as, means it is having its spatial name known as atlas. And here you can see pivot joint in this area. This area is depicted by blue color and rounded, because here you can see one extra foramen which is connecting to the skull. And here we can see pivot joint. So this foramen is the ring. Here means we can see here a structure like this. This is the axis, and the atlas is, means this foramen is coming in this axis like this. It is becoming a ring. Okay. So you get it, that where we can found the pivot joint in between the first vertebra and skull. Okay.
Ma'am, is that ring called the foramen, ma'am?
Foramen is the anatomical language for cavity in between bone. Okay. So here
Okay,
also
ma'am.
we can
Okay, ma'am.
so here also we can find a cavity. That is why we are calling it as foramen. Okay.
Ma'am,
clear?
is the thyroid joint that connects the neck to skull that comes under pivot joint?
Hyoid bone is never connected. Hyoid bone is the what you call say that root of tongue. Okay. Hyoid joint is the root of tongue. Hyoid joint is not present there. Mm, let me go to Google and show you. Here in this first structure. Okay. Yes. Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So here in this picture, you can see here it is the axis and this is the ring-like structure. Okay. The here you can see this foramen is forming the ring-like structure and you can see this is the axis like structure. C2 is forming axis and C1 is forming the ring. Means C1 is protruded on C2. Okay. So this is example of pivot joint. That is why we can move our head to left and right because the ring is moving on that axis. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's go forward. Condyloid joints. The oval articular surface over one bone fits into a complementary to another. Both articular surfaces are oval. Okay. Means one oval surface is fitting to another oval surface. So they are forming condylar joints. Both articular surfaces are oval. For example, metacarpophalangeal joint, metatarsobphalangeal joint. Means metacarpophalangeal joint means metacarpal plus phalanges. Means when metacarpals and phalanges are meeting together. That joint is example of condyloid joint. Okay. Both articular surface of one bone fits into a complementary to another. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Your sound do not look like it's clear.
It is clear, ma'am.
Okay. Next is saddle joint. Resemble condyloid joints, but they allow greater freedom of movement. Each articular surface has both concave and convex areas. For example, carpo-metacarpal joints of thumbs. Carpo-metacarpal. Now, learn to analyze these terms. Okay. Carpo-metacarpal means Carpo means carpals and metacarpal. When carpals and metacarpals are joining together, they are forming saddle joint. So, what is saddle joint? Saddle joints look like almost condylar joints, but in saddle joint, we find both concave and convex surfaces in both the bones, both the articulating bones. I hope you are aware of concave and convex concept, right? Let me explain.
Turned in like C, ma'am. Ulta C and Sida C. That is convex and concave.
Yes, yes. So concave is um, sorry. Concave is this, and yes, let it see from bottom. So concave is this, and convex is this. So yes, ubrawa, that is convex, and concave is which is having a cavity. You can say not cavity. It's, I hope you know the concept of concave and convex. Means, and anybody who is having any problem regarding concave and convex concept,
Ma'am,
you can see.
in the neck we have the convex curvature, no, ma'am? Am I right? Neck and lumbar we have convex, right?
Yeah, means you can see. It depends upon your. You are seeing from which side, right? Means convex structure you can see in 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 our eyes. It is convexed, or mm,
Protruding out, ma'am. Can we say
yes, yes,
convex is protruding out? Okay.
yes. In one surface only, if we see this surface from this side, then it is concave. But if we see this surface from this side, then it is convex, right? One surface can be concave and convex from both two sides. Means it depends upon in from which side we are seeing, right? So, but in case of bones, it is not possible. One surface can be concave and convex, but it happens in saddle joint. What we have seen in condylar joint, that both the surfaces are oval, and uh, oval articular surface of one bone fits into complementary to another. Means if phalanges are like this, phalanges is like this, so metacarpals will complement them as this. Okay, so they are complementing one another. Both the surfaces is oval. I made like this surface as like ball, but you can see here in this picture clearly how they are complementing each other. That is condylar joint. But here in this picture you can see both the surface is having concave and convex structure. Means they are not very equal. They are having a bit irregular shape. So both the surfaces are having concave and convex structure, and they allow greater freedom of movement. Each articular surface having convex and concave areas. And this joint can be found in carpo-metacarpal joint of thumb. Yes, carpo-metacarpal of thumb. Okay. So that is why our thumb is moving much more than other fingers. You can experience that the root of thumb is much more flexible than the root of other fingers, because root of thumb is having subtle joint. Okay. Are the 6 types of synovial joints clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now coming to knee joint. This is very important joint in our body. Knee joint. This is the
Ma'am,
largest and yes.
ma'am, we'll do it tomorrow. Now it's 7:58.
Okay. Okay. So let's wind up the class with prayer. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Inhale deep and long. Exhale completely. Adapt Namaskar Mudra in front of your chest and start the prayer. Sarve bhavantu